Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Big T. Anderson, and today we're doing a reading of a unique bit of fiction. This is from Gravity Tales, a Chinese and Korean light novel website, which I hope you will enjoy. I'm reading some of the first chapters of their tales. If you enjoy them, please. Down below are the links. I believe this is from Junyong, and this is Golden Time. Junyong, hopefully I do not butcher that. And let's just begin. A white space with an unknowable end. It was all that he could see. No, in the distance. He seemed to see a certain object that he could not quite discern. He slowly moved to that place. How far did he walk? Gradually, the identity of that object came into his vision. A man wearing a green gown and a mask. It was surely a doctor in a surgical suit. The man's identity was all the more clear because everything else was all white. There was another man in front of him, lying flat on a wire rack that could be used in the kitchen of a restaurant. A doctor who had been immersed in thinking over something was looking down on that man, with his head then turned to one side. At that moment, the gazes of the student and the doctor watching that man's condition were entangled in the air. Unlike the student who stepped back flinchingly, the doctor's eyes were filled with wrinkles. He was smiling. He lifted his hand slowly, making some gestures as if he were beckoning the student, and whenever he did so, there was something shining in his hand. It was none other than a scalpel used to incise a patient's abdomen. That man lying on the cold wire rack, his stomach bulging like a balloon, beating as if it were like a heart. An aortic aneurysm. As always, the man wearing a mask spoke. The aorta plays a role in distributing blood pumped by the heart into all parts of the body. The aorta originates from the left ventricle of the heart, 2 or 3 centimeters in diameter, and ends at both sides of the buttocks. Simple and uncomplicated, it is called the human highway. The masked man stared at the student, touching the man's swollen abdomen with a scalpel's edge. "What the hell is wrong here?" muttered the student, who had been pondering over something. "Abdominal aortic aneurysm." The masked man's eyes looked satisfactory, asking, "Why did it swell up like this?" "I can figure out the details if I incise the abdomen, but I think the aorta seems to have been enlarged between the thoracic diaphragm and the pelvic diaphragm," said the student. The smile reflected in the masked man's eyes became more noticeable, but a hard voice came out of his mouth. "So, is he going to live or die?" "It's an emergency situation. I have to open up his abdomen, remove the enlarged parts, and connect the artificial blood vessels," said the student. "Why?" "Otherwise the aorta may burst and he may die shortly after. Medication treatment is impossible." "Why don't you quickly open it up?" Nodding his head, the student held out his hand in the air. "Scalpel." No sooner did he say that than a nurse appeared instantly, handing a scalpel to the student's hand. It was always like this. Right before the surgery, the assistants were already at the operating room without a sound, like ghosts. It was exactly the 27th surgery today. "I will open it up." The assistants moved briskly in step with the student's hands, and the masked man watched quietly with his arms folded. Since then, the student performed numerous surgeries, actually too many for him to count, and today he could hear strange words from the masked man. "This time it is your turn." What did he mean by that? The assistants, who appeared like ghosts, grabbed the student firmly, and they forcibly laid him down on a wire rack. He struggled to get out of it, but he just couldn't. Shackles that could be used for mental patients were placed on his ankles and arms, restraining his movement. "He has to go back now." Hearing the masked man's words, the student moved his head to one side. weeing the sharp cog, and the masked man's head turned fiercely. He was clearly intending to open the student's brain. The moment the student with his eyes opened and strained was about to open his mouth, the masked man snapped his fingers. And that was Golden Time. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you want to read on, links down below. There are many more chapters. You can see where this is going. I do believe you will like this. And once again, you guys have a good one. Ta-ta for now.